Halo, apakah kontingen FH Indo udah ada?
Hadir.
Via udah lengkap belum? Kontingen
Via
Via?
sudah lengkap.
Oke, Fisip apakah udah hadir?
Fisip hadir tapi incomplete. Sebentar ya, aku teleponin.
Oke. Oke guys, karena kayaknya udah lengkap semua, jadi kita bakal coin toss buat yang debat Indo dulu ya, karena skor tertinggi itu kemarin adalah FH, jadi FH yang bisa milih buat heads and tail-nya. Jadi FH mau milih apa?
Excuse me, Kak, is it gonna be English or Indonesia dulu?
Indonesia dulu.
Eva pilih heads.
Oke. Berarti via tails-nya ya. Oke, bisa di coin toss-in sekarang. Berarti yang jadi pemerintah adalah via ya teman-teman. Buat yang bahasa Inggris sebentar dulu ya. Oke, karena skor tertinggi Inggris juga dari FH, berarti FH bisa milih duluan. Halo, FH mau milih apa?
Kak, we will choose heads, please. Thank you.
Oke, berarti Fisip tails ya. Bisa di flip. Berarti yang jadi pemerintah Fisip ya teman-teman. Nah, sambil nunggu, selamat sekali lagi buat teman-teman yang udah lolos ke grand final, dan semoga hari ini berjalan dengan lancar. Lalu kami mengucapkan terima kasih kepada sponsor, karena OIM UI 2020 tidak akan dapat berjalan tanpa Genius, Bogasari, dan Apartemen Taman Lati. Setelah ini, saya akan menyerahkan kepada Ekor untuk melanjutkan acara pada hari ini. Terima kasih.
Hai semuanya, congratulations for making it this far. Udah masuk ke grand final dari OIM UI, dan ya, sekarang kita bakal langsung aja motion launch. Tadi udah selesai match up, ya kita lanjut aja. Grand final, ini langsung selanjutnya nih bakal ada motion. Yang penasaran, ya. Ya, ini jadi yang bahasa Inggris dulu. Grand final dengan heading Taxonomy. Motionnya adalah tuh ada 3, bisa langsung di SS aja. Independent contractors are freelancers which partner with corporation to offer a temporary service. They set their own hours and do their job in their own way. They do not receive employee benefits, i.e. healthcare, pension, training, employees have a work contract with a specific corporation. Ya, sedikit baca capek. I'll give 3 minutes untuk ini 3 minutes. 1 menit dulu untuk di SS. Oke, udah di SS. Sekarang aku lanjut ke yang bahasa Indonesia. Terjemahannya tetap dengan heading ekonomi. Ini adalah mosi untuk debat bahasa Indonesia. Kontraktor independen adalah freelancer, bla bla bla. Silakan dibaca. Is there any question? Apakah ada pertanyaan?
Menanya dong,
Iya, Yovan.
contoh big tech companies yang ke finance itu kayak Kredivo atau apa yang dimaksud?
Apa, sorry, macet?
Contohnya itu kayak Kredivo gitu ya, yang big tech companies in finance. Ya kan? No?
Iya.
Oke, sure. Oke, thank you.
Apakah ada lagi? Counting once, counting twice.
Sorry Kak, tadi perusahaan besar yang dimaksud apa aja Kak? Bisa dikasih contohnya?
Tadi yang kau ditanya sama teman kamu yang dari bahasa Inggris itu kayak Kredivo. Oke. Ada lagi yang mau ditanyakan? Oke, karena nggak ada lagi, langsung aja. Motion preference time start 1 minute from now.
Maaf mau motong, buat teman-teman jangan lupa rename display name-nya ya, biar gampang buat dipindahinnya.
Turn start sampai jam berapa? Sorry.
We have to wait until everyone is here ya, so wait.
Oh, oke. Santuy.
Nanti dikirimnya ke private chat atau ke everyone ya, biar nggak salah preferensinya.
To everyone.
Oke.
Sorry, Kak Daniel, can you please rename to the team, like if you're a government or the opposition team?
Sorry ya, teammate gue kayak hilang gitu. Dia nggak diallocate.
Okay, now everyone is here. We can start. I'm gonna start my screen sharing. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the grand final of OIM UI 2020 English Debate Competition. I would like to say congratulations for making up your way to the final round. Now I, Adriana, as the moderator, will guide the process of the debate this time. As it is known that the current agenda is motion preference, therefore each team is welcome to sort the desired motion choices. If you have decided on each choice, please write down the order of the choices in the chat box. And also, if you want to use the bathroom, now is your time, because during the cast building, you will not have permissions to use the bathroom. So motion preference starting now, we have 10 minutes.
has the motion been decided?
Yep.
Oh, no, I'm asking the moderator because there has not been an announcement yet for the selected motion.
The government team haven't decided ya.
Ya, masih motion preference kan tadi katanya
masih.
10 menit.
Yeah, maybe next time you can chat to everyone because
Sorry,
it's
motion preference berapa menit?
10 menit. Now we still have about 5 minutes.
Enggak, motion preference cuma semenit.
10 minutes.
Yaudah.
It's 1 minute. I think I made
Jadi
it
1
clear
menit
already.
maksudnya akan mulai dalam 1 menit gitu. Tapi waktu 10 menit kok.
Tapi kalau misalkan emang harus sekarang kayak kata Ricky, ya udah kita
Nggak apa-apa kok. Kita
motion preference 1 minute ya.
Iya.
Di A4. Thank you.
Oke. Ricky senyum.
Ayo, siapa dari kalian yang mau ngirim? Daniel ya?
We have sent it ke private chat moderatornya.
Oh.
Kita udah send update tadi.
Oh ya udah. Gue send ke private chat moderator juga. Kita dari tadi mikirnya kalian yang belum, jadi kita nungguin kalian.
Iya, sama-sama.
Iya, lucu sih. Ya udahlah, gimana?
It seems from the motion of each team, it can be said that we will be using motion number 1, which is independent contractors are freelancer which partner with corporation to offer a temporary service. They set their own hours and do their job in their own way. They do not receive employee benefits. Employees have a work contract with a specific corporation to offer continuous service for a certain period of time in exchange for salaries, benefits, and social protection and termination protections. This house believes that ride-hailing app companies should categorize their workers as employees as opposed to the independent contractors. Motion number 1 is in number 2. You guys set motion number 1 in the same order. So we will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So right now our agenda is cast building, which will be held for 30 minutes. Please always turn on the camera and turn off the mic. Participants can choose another channel to discuss. Starting from now. Good luck. For government team, Kak Yovan, please turn on your camera because we are already starting the cast building. For Kak Yovan, can you turn on your camera, please? We are already in cast building right now. Sorry, Kak Yovan from government team. Can you please turn on your camera? Yeah, thank you. And for the government team, can you please write down the speaker's name on the chat box? Thank you. For Kak Yovan, why did you turn off your camera? Please turn on your camera. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting your cast building time, but for Kak Yovan, I've been told if you turn off the camera in Google Meets, the camera on Zoom will be on. So it is a must to turn on the camera while cast building. Okay, sorry Kak. And for the government team also, please write down the speaker's name on the chat box. Thank you. We have 5 more minutes left for case building. Okay, now that the cast building time is over, before we begin, we have to address the POI mechanism for both teams. So for both teams, would you like to have your POI on chat or on interruption?
On the chat, please. Government on the chat.
Government, opposition?
I think we have different preference for the POI method. We will personally mention our preference before we start our speech.
Okay. Okay, again, welcome everyone to the grand final of OIM UI 2020 English debate competition. Permission to introduce myself once again. My name is Adriana. As the moderator, will guide the process of the debate for this round. First of all, I will introduce the two teams that will compete in this round, starting with the government from Fisip, where Natasha Dewi is the first speaker, Elgaret Mario as the second speaker, Yovan Gabriel as the third speaker, and then the reply speech will be delivered by Natasha Dewi. From the opposition team, we have Faculty of Law, FH, where Daniel Wiarta as the first speaker, Faiza Avelia as the second speaker, and Justin Gabriel as the third speaker. And the reply speech will be delivered by Daniel Wiarta. Then I will introduce the judges for this match with Kak Randy, Kak Dio, and Kak Sam. And before we start, I remind you to turn on the camera during the competition and turn off the mic unless you get your own turn to talk. And for debaters, please, you can set your own stopwatch to record your speech time, just in case I am disconnected, so you will still be able to see your speech time. Thank you. Without further ado, I would like to call the first speaker from the government team. Time and place is yours.
Okay, wait. I'm gonna start my timer. Okay, masukkan ya. Am I audible?
Yes.
Sorry. Can anyone write the motion, please?
The motion is motion number 1, which is this house believe that ride-hailing app companies like Gojek, Grab, and Uber should categorize their workers as employees as opposed to independent contractors.
Okay, get it.
Okay. Proposition aku through chat box aja ya kalau mau POI. If I have time, I'm gonna take the POI. But if not, I am very sorry. Cuma mungkin yang lain nanti ada preference yang dikasih sendiri. Oke. Masukkan ya suaranya. Okay. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Judges, we think that there has been imbalances that exist in the status quo happening to drivers from ride-hailing companies such as Gojek, Grab, and all the platforms that we know of, right? The status of them being freelancers and not workers, permanent workers, leaving them vulnerable to the harm that they face from the working field itself, such as exploitation, not getting taken care of, and so on and so forth. And it opens the gates for a company to shy away from the responsibility that they should have given out to them as their employees, right? They do not give them the protection, they do not give them the health benefit that they need, and so on and so forth. We think the benefits that they have received right now is not enough. What are them, right? Number 1, they have only received clothes, for example, helmet, for example. Second, they are only receiving phones and scholarship, for example. And 2 reasons why it is not enough, right? So opposing team cannot just fly with their potential case saying that the benefit that those companies have given out is enough, right? Number 1, it is only a form of mechanism, right? They only do it for the hypes from the customers, proven by how scholarship, for example, has many requirements for the drivers to be able to attain them, and they also have so little access, right? So not many drivers actually get it. Number 2, it is not the basic necessities that they really need in the status quo and that they can use in their daily lives, right? right? We think that is not enough. So here, proposition wants to demand better things. For example, we want them to have better salaries. We want them to have the health benefits that they need, or even to the extent of better working contracts, making them permanent workers, right? I'm going to prove to you why those drivers actually deserve and need those kind of things, right? So let's first contextualize the people who work in Gojek and Grab and all the companies that we know of. Number one, they are using it as a full-time job to best their living, for example. This is proven by how people are working from 7 to 12, for example, to find customers in their field. Number two, they dedicate themselves to seek for the bare minimum bonuses that they can attain of their work, right? They also have zero side job to be able to make sure that they have enough income coming to their household to be able to live, right? Secondly, because they live off just from this riding job, right? They are so afraid that they might be they might lose it in the end of the day. So they tend to work their access off. Also, for example, it comes to the extent of them being sick through storms and rains, for example. And we think that this alone tells you two things, right? What does this tell you? Number one, this tells you that they embody the characteristic of good employee that they should have given the status of, right? They have dedicated so much of their life, their time, their energy to be able to do their work properly to the companies, right? So they cannot just be called mitra, for example. Most importantly, they have also contributed so much to the growth of that company, right? Understand that the profit that they get as a freelancers mostly goes to the pocket of the company, right? If they are not working from 7 to 12, for example, we don't think that Gojek and Grab would grow as much as they have now, for example. We think that they have contributed enough to be able to be called not just as mitra, right? POI letter. Number two, this also tells you that they are the most vulnerable actor that we need to protect from the harms that they may face in the working field, right? The harms that the system may impose to them as workers itself. What are the harms that they may face in the working field? I'm going to give you 3 layers of harms that I'm going to explain in this debate. Number one, the harms of being exploited. Number two, the harms of not getting community and bargaining power. And number three, the harms of possibilities of being easily laid off, right? Let's go to the first layers, harms of being exploited. Look, understand that in each of every job that you assign yourself to, there will always be a kind of power imbalance that exists between you as workers and your CEO, right? Your CEO can determine the amount of salaries that you can get, the time of your working hours, for example. But this is different from those who are just freelancers, right? Because the power imbalance is so much bigger. The power imbalance that we have under the side oppositions can go to the extent of exploiting the workers, like how the company set standards or on how many customers should give in a day, for example, and all the things that they know, but also opposing team cannot say that exploitation do not happen because they work under flexibility, right? They can, for example, determine their own working hours and so on and so forth. Why? Because those flexibility is being forced by requirements and prerequisites to get bonuses that is set by the company, right? So if they want to shy away from by saying that this exploitation do not happen merely because of the companies, this is untrue, because the structural incentive that makes them exploit themselves comes from the company, right? So we think that all the exploitation comes from the company itself. But secondly, even if exploitation do not happen, do not come from the company, the exploitation can also happen through the customers, right? And the company do not take care of this, right? The proof is this, proven how by how there is a customer that is just being mean, for example, giving you 1 to 2 stars in a playful manner, and the companies is just being silent, for example, or the drivers who are being mocked in the street, for example, or being fought against in the street because traffic got in the way and that they are being late. They are also able to exploit the workers and the companies is not protecting them enough. But second, possibilities of not getting the community, right? We think that under permanent worker contract, you are also given the access to labor union, right? This labor union functions as two things. Number one, as a community that you can belong to. And secondly, it also functions as a bargaining power for you, right? Number one, a community that you can belong to because you share the relatability to them. You can tell stories about how your day went and how and all funny stories that you can get as from being the driver. This does not exist in the status of them being freelancer, right? Because they only can gather organically, for example, when they rest, for example, or after Salat. And we think that it doesn't happen after, right? We think that a sense of community like this is the key to lighten up your spirit in working, right? So that you do not feel tired, for example, after working your day off. But secondly, it also functions as a channel for you to oppose your CEO, right? Because as a union, you have a bigger bargaining power to channel and to oppose your CEO, right? This does not happen when they are only freelancers. But third of all, we think that the harms that may come is that because they are easily laid off, because freelancer can just be diputuskan or be let off when they do little mistake. I am very proud to propose.
So the first speaker from the government team have spent 7 minutes and 38 seconds. I repeat, 7 minutes and 38 seconds. Now I would like to call the first speaker from the opposition team. Time and place is
Hi, can I have like 30 seconds to organize my paper, please? All right, I'm starting my speech. Wait, are you going to use the timer in the screen, right? Wait, am I audible? Because my screen is like freezing right now.
yes, you are clear.
You are audible.
Wait, am I audible? Oh shoot.
Yes, you are audible.
All right, I'm not sure if my connection is like a friend right now. So if I am laggy in the middle of my speech, please do tell me. All right, I'm starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, this is grand final round, and I honestly cannot believe that the PM talked about exploitation, which is definitely out of the context of the motion. Because if you read the motion, this motion is not about advocating for a stricter exploitation against policies. This debate is a comparative debate with categorizing the workers as an employee or as an independent contractor. And for your information, making your worker as an employee does not guarantee that your companies will suddenly become not exploitative. We think that their entire case rely on a new mechanization mechanism that they unfairly put, which is not within the wording of the motion. Because if their mechanism is able to be credited, then under our side, we're also going to happily support anti-exploitation policies when you're working as independent contractor. We don't think that that's an apple-to-apple comparison if you are able able to read and understand about the wording of the motion. Under side opposition, we are very clear though. Our case does not hinge upon instances where exploitation happens or not. We're going to prove to you why it's generally better in terms of flexibility, in terms of options, especially in the case of ride-hailing companies, when the worker needs space and flexibility the most. This must be contested by a proposition side. Before I go to my two substantive argumentation, I'm going to do like two direct rebuttals to a proposition case. First, on the entire case about exploitation, I'd like to posit three responses. Number one, we think that this also happens under your side because the comparative of this debate is not strictly regulated against exploitation. Under your side, when you make as an employee, that does not negate the fact that the companies can still be exploitative. It will definitely be upon the reflection of the company and the action of the company. You cannot just add a mechanization to ensure that there will be no exploitation. But second of all, we think that exploitation will be worse under your side because when you are within your contractual obligation, it puts more ownership power to the companies to exploit you because you are the only worker and you are binded by the obligation that they put on you because they are your company and you are their worker. We also say that when you rely upon only one company to live your life, for example, what is considered by them, it gives company more asymmetrical power because they know that there's a huge dependency on your life with the working experience less likely to actually opt out from the working place. It gives companies more opportunity to exploit you. But lastly, even if we are going to say trade-off, right? Even if we are going to trade off all the benefit like healthcare benefit, insurances, why is it okay? Because number one, we think that there are many alternatives that you can actually cover with. For example, you already have like KIS, like you already have BPJS for your health insurance. We think that as long as you get more profit under our side, as long as we can prove to you why the profit maximization is better, you can also like do insurance that's more reliable than the health benefit that companies actually do. We think that that's a trade-off that we're willing to take. But second of all your idea about labor union. Number one, we think that this is not exclusive because labor union does not operate under like your interaction with your fellow worker. Labor union simply protects everyone that claims themselves as a labor. Working in both companies do not negate the fact that you're still a labor. You're still under the protection of labor union. But second of all, we think that because you're working in multiple companies at once, you get more interaction with more workers. That's to say, Grab driver can also interact with Go driver because they're also both companies. So we think that if you want to talk about community, we think it's much wider under our side. Labor union will also be more effective under our side. But going on to my two substantive argumentation. One, why relying on only one company is inherently bad, especially in the context of ride-hailing app companies. But secondly, why independent contractor give profit maximization more to companies and create more competition. First of all, but before that, I want to say that, first of all, when under proposition case, you're only relying on one company. This is because like the companies require you to be committed. There is a strict a contractual obligation that you cannot work outside from the other companies or else you'll be fired or as all of the benefits that proposition want to have will not be there. We think that it's bad because economics seen in the ride-hailing app is very fluctuative in two ways. Number one, the concentration of your customers is not equal distributed based on geographical proximity. That is to say, in Medan, maybe Gojek is more popular, but Grab might not be as popular. That is to say, people working in Grab might suffer from like not getting profit because people are preferring more in the Gojek, for example, because the trust and preferences of area of people differ based on geographical proximity. I don't think proposition can say just that if you think that Grab is more profitable, then you go to Grab. This does not happen under their side because when you're categorizing all workers as an employee, it decreases the company incentive to open more job opportunities simply because all the benefit like healthcare benefit, all the insurance that you have to cover for your employees is a much more huge burden on the operational cost. We think that there will be less job opportunity. You cannot just like change your work under your side of the house. So people who are like a Grab driver will be stuck as a Grab driver. And when it is not benefitable, it's not prospective in certain geographical area, we think that they suffer. But second of all, customers also rely on the promotion by the companies. That's to say when Grab is like making code promo, people prefer Grab more. And when Gojek does that, like people do it. Note that this is like externalities that workers do not have control to. exactly because it's like very random and because it's not something that you can control. Your job security also relies on the preference of the people, because notice that the way the income of like Grab driver and Gojek driver work is by the orders of the customer. Because customer preferences are very, very different and can change by time, what you need is option. The reason why our site solve this is twofold. Number one, we get better reach. That's to say that if Gojek is like more prospective for you, you can also work in both applications. There's no string attached. You can be like a Gojek driver and a Grab driver at the same time. So at times when Grab is like flourishing in terms of order, you can actually be Grab driver and focusing more on Grab. There's a much more option that you can take to actually cover all of this fluctuation in the economy. But second of all, we think that shifting becomes easier. That's to say, when you feel like exploitation happens in Gojek and not Grab, then you can choose to actually shift into Grab without any binding obligation. Under the other side, the optical mechanism in instance when exploitation happens become harder. But second off, let's talk about companies. Under our side, the reason why it benefit companies is because you get more worker. That's to say it's more flexible. People who are working in university or people who have like a main job can also be Gojek driver without like the commitment. Like you can do it like once you finish your university, once you finish your work. We think that the reason why more worker is important is because you can reach more geographical area. This also maximizes competition, because to attract worker, you are going to do, to make sure the order increase, you are going to do like more frequent promotion, etc. That's why we're very proud to stand in opposition. We're very proud to speak for FH.
The first speaker from the opposition team spent 7 minutes and 30 seconds. I repeat, 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Now I would like to call the second speaker from the government team. Time and place is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm setting up my camera, yeah. Okay. Wait.
Yeah, for the POI preference, please.
Okay. My POI preference is through chat. I'm gonna start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Essentially, the logic brought by opposition is that, workers know best, and therefore workers would be able to, like have more options in terms of work. Therefore, they are going to become more secure simply because if the people do not, for example, like prefer Gojek in Medan and people prefer Grab in Medan, therefore they can just simply switch and have 2 jobs or something. So essentially, then they conceded that essentially all of their case relies upon the idea that being a Gojek driver, being a ride-hailing driver itself is a secure job, right? Essentially, they think that, like the idea of being, so what I'm going to try to debunk then, the idea on why, like the being a ride-hailing driver itself is not a good job, it's not a secure job. Therefore, all of their cases about choice false, right? Because it's not about whether, this debate doesn't talk about whether Gojek is more profitable than Grab. The nature that they should be talking about is why ride-hailing drivers itself isn't a good job, right? 3 things I'll be talking about, right? 1, profit maximization. That's their biggest concern and why it's false. Second, the idea of laws that protect workers and why it's exclusive to employees. Thirdly, about the extension on which why temporary jobs is inherently bad, right? First down, the idea of profit maximization. Essentially, they claim to you that, okay, profit maximization is better because there'll be more choices or whatever. Our response is simple, right? 1, in times of crisis, like for example, when there's flooding or even worse, COVID, for example, essentially inside opposition, you are more likely to leave these drivers, for example, to fend for themselves. When the Gojek business is slow, for example, then they can just simply cast aside, for example, the drivers on the ground who have already contributed to the profit that they have, right? Essentially, on their opposition, the most vulnerable actors in times of crisis, for example, are going to suffer, right? We think then if their only claims that, okay, there's going to be choice, right? You can just simply move to another job, another ride-hailing job driver or whatever. We don't think so, right? We think that on our side, the protection is better because the benefit of being on a secure job is way super outweighs, the benefit of working two jobs, having two choices, right? But you might ask, what kind of benefits, right? We already explained to you that essentially when you're becoming an employee, a permanent worker, the laws in the country that protects workers are only then able to protect you, right? In terms of, laws that protects workers, like, for example, providing healthcare, for example, giving you stable income regardless of the company's profit, right? Legal protection to protect you from all kinds of exploitation that potentially happens, right? Investments in terms of training. All of these are only accessible when you are a worker, right? Freelancers, mitra, like what Gojek tries to tell you, only, are only just seen as an external body of the company and therefore are not susceptible to all of these laws, right? That kind of protection is only exclusive to worker. Why? What are the implications of this, right? Essentially, you are even in times of crisis when the business is slow, like we're seeing right now, these workers are still going to be protected because they're going to feel secure, knowing that they have stable income waiting for them, regardless of their, like how many cab drivers that they have. Even if, for example, companies, they feel secure knowing that the companies, for example, would not be able to just simply lay them off or break the the connection or whatsoever. The harms on their side are objectively bigger, right? Simply because you can see that on their side, essentially when the whole business of rate hailing companies is down, they're going to literally die because there is no protection given to them at the end of the day, right? Moving on to my extension, right? Why? Essentially, contract workers, the idea of temporary jobs is inherently, feels bad even for all these drivers, right? We think that currently people foresee people doing good as being as a Gojek driver is essentially, something that's just feel as unemployment, right? It's not a full-time job because, the narrative that is being exacerbated, the idea of you're just being a mitra, for example, things like that, right? This changes how people perceive Gojek workers, not as a real job because it does not have all of the things that real jobs usually entails. Fixed, predictable, secure income, employee benefits. These are the things that they do not necessarily achieve, right? What are the implications of this, right? Threefold. One, we think it makes them harder to have all of the things that would allow them to have stepping stones in life. We're talking about things like loans from banks, for example. We're talking about lendings and so on and so forth, right? When these drivers are not employees, for example, it's hard for banks to calculate and give them loans simply because they do not know the amount of fixed income these Gojek drivers would have, right? Because it varies throughout the day. They do not know, for example, what kind of income they're going to get tomorrow, for example, different for today. It creates it. The banks see them as risks, for example, people who are not worthy of being loaned, right? When they are employees, they are seen as being more secure, right? They're seen to have stable income. They're seen to have, protection even if they get sick, for example, they're still going to be protected. Banks are able to calculate clearly, therefore able to, give them small loans, for example, that would help them everyday life. This is important, right? Because even if on our side the wage is small, at least they are able to have more access towards things that will allow them betterment as stepping stones in life, right? Getting a small apartment, investment for their child. These are the things that are exclusive only when you're employees. But secondly, right, why it's better on our side for second implication, whether it gives them better for future, it sets them up better for future jobs, right? Because if I just can simply ask you, what is better on your CV, driver of Gojek, or, I work as an employee in Gojek, even in one glance, the second choice is better, right? Because when you're an employee, you have access, for example, to supervisors who will be able to manage you directly, have human contact, and will be able to give you letters of recommendation for your future jobs. Investments and trainings are more likely to happen, just allowing them, for example, to, like be able to move to other jobs that might be more secure. Like for example, being a driver for corporates or whatever, be working in the low-end jobs on other things. These are the jobs that are necessarily going to be better on our side. But lastly, right, on the idea of mental stability, right, the temporary feeling of being a contact workers is inherently bad, right? Because you are literally being seen, people can stop constantly looking down on you because you are not considered an employee, because you are seen as an unsecure person, right? We think that this kinds of, thus you tends to find your job, as not having that much purpose at the end of the day, because you do not, for example, find gratification in it, right? When you're a worker, your mental health is put into consideration. You're being implemented with the idea of having the corporate spirit or whatever, thus allowing you to have more emotional fulfillment, more being seen as better by the companies, and so on and so forth. We're proud to propose.
Second speaker of the government team spent 7 minutes and 30 seconds. I repeat, 7 minutes and 30 seconds.
I need time to organize my papers first. Okay. Hold on. Okay. I'm going to start my speech. And wait, okay. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, we think that all of their benefits coming from team opposition are not exclusive. We already told you that the benefits of a labor union membership or other security in terms of healthcare, for example, also exists on our side of the house. But in this debate, I'm going to prove to you why you should side to FH, right? First of all, I'm going to give you points of rebuttals. When they told you regarding there's no fixed income on individual individual contractor that is happening under our side of the house, we have few responses to this. Number one, if you notice, the mechanism of salary that is going on in Gojek or Grab is not simply regarding there's no fixed income, right? How it goes is that first, salary on Gojek is based on how many customers that you get, right? Like the amount of bonus that you have. If more customers that you will have, of course, you will have more income that you have, right? So it's predictable. It's based on if you want more salary, then you need to work times harder, right? It's based on your capacity. If you know that your capacity is not enough, then of course the income that you get will also low too. So these are the things are controllable in the current status quo, right? So that doesn't necessarily mean suddenly if tomorrow if tomorrow you are sick, then you have lower amount of income. Well, of course that is you don't say, because you know that you cannot work times harder. The customer that you have is also lower too, right? So that means if you want more income, if you want more stable job, then you have to like protect your health, for example, not overwork, for example, eat 24/7, for example, eat every day, for example. These kinds of things are simply like minor, and you should disregard their concern in the first place. But then they also told you on the idea of in times of crisis, individual contractor will not be secure. We have few responses to this. Number one, crisis is not forever, right? Like we have COVID in just this year, right? But before that, everything is stable, right? You don't have crisis in every year, right? So you don't have to so this is like an outlier, right? It's just a case-based argument coming from their side of the house. If we just flip their argument saying that the crisis do not happen, then their argument should fall. But then here's the thing, right? Even if crisis still happening, what you need to look at in the status quo is that there's adjustment that is done by these companies, right? Take a look at Gojek. During COVID, they're not firing their workers, right? Instead, they have like this amount of like adjustment. For example, okay, you might not we're not going to fire you, but you need to work times harder in order for you to get customers. So it relies on the individual contractor in the first place. So, but then the third reasons, even if companies are that evil, right? That there's that evil that they're firing all of these individual contractor. There's already check and balance mechanism in the current status quo. Take a look at the funny case about a Gojek driver who is doing churhat in TikTok, for example. It went viral, right? And the moment it went viral, Gojek suddenly loses its customers. So it's like the check and balance mechanism already happened in a lot of forms. So you shouldn't suddenly like make a lot of concerns on regards to that. But then second option, we also have labor union membership, as mentioned on my first speaker. Like we have like labor union membership where you can advocate what's your concern regarding the companies that you're working on. So other government mechanisms are currently still accessible under our side of the house. But then they also told you, right, the idea about mental illness. Suddenly, the moment you become individual contractor, then you will be mentally unstable because of all the instability that is going on. Here's the thing, right? People already have basic rational thinking. If you're not mentally stable, if you're not mentally stable facing a job that is unstable, then you wouldn't apply to that job in the first place. You apply as an individual contractor based on consent. We're not mandating that all people suddenly should be individual contractor, right? So we don't understand the idea how the moment you being individual contractor, then you would have a mental instability. I guess that these kinds of things are not likely in the first place. But then they also talk about like how labor union membership, but it's already mentioned that this also exclusive under our side of the house. Is just a matter of how you refer it. Just because you're an individual contractor doesn't mean that you cannot have access to labor union membership. But then let's talk about overwork, right? The things that they always emphasize in this debate. Here's the thing, right? Overwork will not happen under our side of the house. Why is this so? First of all, understand these individual contractor have characterizations. First of all, you can inflict working time for yourself, right? If you're a college student, you can have a working hour from 6 to 10 p.m. But if you're a tukang tek, for example, you want to be a Gojek driver, you can have a working hour from 7 to 10 p.m. So this is completely flexible. Since they do not explain how overwork will happen under our side of the house, we don't think that they're capable government in this debate. But then second response to this, so that proves to you that overwork will not happen, but because factually you can inflict the working time that's flexible towards yourself. But then look, overwork will instead happen on their side of the house. Why is this so? Because the characterization is, as an employee, you will sign a contract that includes how long you will work. For example, you have minimum of working time of 5 until 10 years. So you have to oblige to whatever rules they're applying. This is harmful, ladies and gentlemen, because companies can have a justification to whatever they're doing. For example, if they suddenly impose on overworking hours as a driver, you cannot complain or have a check and balance mechanism, because they will say, well, you have signed the contract anyway, you cannot do anything towards us. These vulnerable drivers will not have a bargaining power under their side of the house. But why is this important? Because understand the characterization of ride-hailing company. First of all, they are prone to changes of rules and regulations. Why is this so? Because Gojek and Grab rely on market demands. They are their company that is prone to changes. So under their side of the house, when there's a change of regulations, these Gojek driver or Uber driver will forced to stay even if they are not comfortable with the rules and regulations that is applied by these companies. At least under our side of the house, when you're being an individual contractor, you have the ability to just bail out from the company because you're not comfortable with the working hours, for example. But then why this becomes more important for individual contractor for middle to lower class. Understand, as a disenfranchised people, you always need to have work times harder for you to sustain in your life, right? Under our side of the house, these people will be exposed to a lot more customers. For example, if you're raining and then the uncertainty will be, for example, in this region of place, the one that exists on only the customers who have Grab application. In the meantime, you're a Gojek driver. It's going to create a lot more certainty because you will not you cannot have this customer for your own, right? At least under our side of the house, if you have like, if you're applied to Gojek and Grab, you can have the customers as fast as possible. So that is why we're very proud to oppose.
The second speaker from the opposition team spent 7 minutes and 41 seconds. I repeat, 7 minutes and 41 seconds. Now I would like to call the third speaker from the government team. Time and place is yours.
Okay. Give me like 20 seconds. No, 10 seconds really. Bentar. Sorry. Okay. Nanti kalau if anyone want the POI, use the chat. Hopefully I'll read it, and then kalau I have the time.
Sorry, your voice is so small.
Halo, tes. Cukup nggak?
Yeah, I think that's enough.
Okay, nanti I'll become louder. Okay. Yeah, the point is, if anyone want the POI, use the chat. If I have the time, I'm going to answer it. Okay. I'm gonna begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Look, adjudicators, the one point that you need to understand is the debate needs to be judged on who protects and benefits the most for the vulnerable actors, in which we have correctly described is the workers themselves. So any consideration about how this is going to affect the companies shouldn't really matter. On one layer, because I don't really explain how it's going to affect the companies really well to begin with. But on two, we should be the debate fiat is to assume that the companies can afford to give status of employment towards these workers. So we shouldn't really consider how this is going to affect the companies or how the companies might be damaged from this policy, right? That's a whole entirely different debate and not a preview of these motions. So the debate should be judged on which of the house gives more benefits and protects the vulnerable actors, which is the driver on this case, better. And I'm going to prove to you why that's our side of the house. So I'm going to structure my speech in 3 parts. One, I'm going to give individual rebuttals and a piece of clarification. And 2, I'm going to explain the 3 concerns coming from the side of the house and why we have answered already. And I'm going to close my debate with a comparison of both cases. All right, so one piece of clarification. See, they seem to have misunderstood the concept of labor union to begin with, right? Now, there are no labor unions in any countries, but especially Indonesia, that accept contract workers as their members, especially since their names are labor union. If you go to ASPEC or ABM and you try to apply to the organizations as a contract worker, you're not going to be accepted. You want to know why? Because they are not just consisting of Gojek drivers. They're also consisting of factory workers. They're also consisting of corporate workers. And when you consider this, those people don't want to protect people who are not workers to begin with. So when you want to apply to a labor union to give the legal protection given by a labor union, you're going to have to be an employee or at least have the status as an employee. The contract can be a bit more messy, but you need to at least be an employee. And this is significant because the legal protection given by a labor union is exclusive to employee, right? So this is why you don't see cases of contract workers getting injustice in Indonesia and also other countries, and they are able to pursue protection from labor union, because labor union does not give protections to people who are not laborers, who are not employers. So their point about how we're going to make our own labor union is insignificant, because whatever labor union they form are not going to have the legal justifications and the benefits and the strengths that traditional labor union already have, which I've already pointed to organizations that I've said. So that's one piece of clarification. Second, on individual rebuttal, this is a point coming from the second speaker regarding about how people would rationalize overworking and they will not choose to risk their health. We say that this is not the case. The fact is that if you see the status quo, Grab drivers are constantly overworking themselves, essentially because it is the economical necessities for them to do it, right? Because there's no stability in their work, because they can get cut off from the companies at any time because they don't have a regular income. Their rationality actually leads them to overworking themselves constantly. That's why we see it happening. So that's on individual rebuttal, right? So let's go on the 3 concerns coming from them. Their first concern is that exploitation happens on both sides of the house. When we can see this happening, the nature of companies and workers are constantly going to be an asymmetry of power, which tends to lead to exploitation. But we've already proven to you why exploitation are better mitigated on our side of the house. One, you gain access to labor unions, which means you gain access to bargaining power. And this is very interesting because they say about how contracts is binding. Contracts are binding in their side of the house, right? You cannot negotiate the contract when you're a contract worker. You try to say, hey, I want a better contract, the companies are just going to cut you off. When you're an employee, there are laws protecting you and giving you the bargaining power to sue for a better workers' prerequisite and workers' payment and things like that. That is exactly why people in society prefer to be employees rather than contractual workers, because you gain this bargaining power. So yes, exploitation happens on both sides of the house, but it's always going to be better when you're an employee and not a contract worker. Second concern coming from them. They say that contract workers give more flexibility to the people, right? A more irrelevant point given from is what university students, when they graduate, they want to become Gojek drivers. We say this is far the minority and should not be the concern of the debate whatsoever, right? Sure, if university students wants to be employees, they can do it. If they want to be contract workers, they can do it. It's not relevant. But the most important point is coming from is on how they're going to work for both apps. Now, this is just illogical, right? How can you work on both apps? Yes, that happens, but when you are a ride-hailing driver, you can only drive one person at a time. So it doesn't really make sense how they say you can work both jobs at the same time. So the only case at stand is how you can transition from one job to another companies. But we say that even if this exists, one, employees can also transition from one job to another. It happens all the time. You can even request for a job transfer, and that does happen. Or you can just quit your job. That can be done. Yes, it might be a little bit more hassle than being a contract worker, but that can still happen on our side of the house. Secondly, this necessity of transferring from one company to another is also a very specific scenario. So the same critic saying to us about how in times of crisis, that's a very case-based scenario. It also happens to this argument coming from them, because the need of transitioning from one company to another is also a very specific scenario. So that second concern down. The third concern is that there are already check and balance in society. Now, it's very funny that their mechanism for this check and balance is social media. That you're going to rely on the post of the Gojek driver who's being exploited, going suddenly viral, and you expect the masses to support this Gojek driver. This is not unrealistic. This is very unrealistic, right? You cannot expect this to happen all the time in all cases of exploitation. The fact is that most Gojek drivers are 40 to 50-year-old men who have no access to social media. They have no followers in social media. They do not understand how to use TikTok or to use Instagram or to use WhatsApp. And even if they do, the chances of them going to fire is very, very small. So we say that this check and balance is very, very weak coming from the side of the house. But secondly, and more importantly, you have to understand the status of contract workers. They are seen as entrepreneurs. They are seen as solo workers, which means the failures that happens to them are going to be seen because of them. So if I have a Gojek driver who is a contract worker fail, the way society and the way the companies can frame it is that I fail because of myself, because I don't work hard enough, rather than because the companies are exploiting me. There's no balancing power between that, because their status are not as employee, right? So that's the third concern going down the drain. So what are the comparison of the debate? The comparison of the debate is our side of the house have proven to you what kind of benefits we are going to give to you: healthcare, pensions, pasangon in case you get fired from the job, you gain more stability, a regular income, right? Meanwhile, the side of the house cannot provide this realistically with any form of mechanism. Their only benefit come from is more flexibility, and even if you buy that, by on your own rational, I think we can decide that these 5 benefits are far outweighs the benefits of being more flexible as a worker, right? And in fact, as a worker, why would you want to be flexible? You would rather be stable rather than be flexible. You don't expect to move from one job to another. You want one job that can secure and provide for your life reliably. But even if you want to buy that, We have already proven to you why the status of employee alone is beneficial, even if you disregard all other benefits, or how society and family will see you, and how it's going to help your mental health and give you confidence because you're an employee, and how it's going to help you as a stepping stone for other opportunities. It's going to look better in your CV. It's going to provide you the necessary credit to gain loans and other benefits from government and banks. And when you see this, we can say reliably that being an employee far outweighs the benefits of being a contract worker. Thank you for listening.
The third speaker of the government team spent 7 minutes and 51 seconds. I repeat, 7 minutes and 51 seconds. Now I would like to call the third speaker from the opposition team. Time and place is yours.
Hey, hello, am I loud and clear?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, by the way, if you have any POI, just open your mic and just say POI or something because I won't be looking at the Zoom chat. All right. I'm gonna start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Their case died when Johan said several things. Number one, exploitation in their side also happens, which means that they consent to a huge harm that happens in their side of the house, right? Number two, when he's being extremely dismissive or literally not understanding that people not graduate from FHUI to become Gojek drivers, with all due respect, it is their part-time job, right? Because not all people are that privileged. Not all people have money to pay for their UKT, right? They need to do this part-time job, but they cannot do it when they're having class, when they're having debates at OIM like this, right? They need flexibility. They need time flexibility, and we are just have to provide that. Shame that all of his points about CV, etc. come to it over time, so I guess we won already. 3 points of clarification. Number one, different characterizations by first and second prop destroys their claim and make all of them hardly believable. Nata said that it is their main job. Elgar said that no, it's not. That's why the argument saying that they have no job security should crumble. Number two, they should not be a fiat that companies can afford everything. So I don't want to be the dummy that makes this a definitional debate, but I don't think running away from responsibility of explaining what has happened is wise. You'll find that to run away by saying that, oh, company don't matter. Well, they do. Why? No, we're not defending companies over individuals, yeah, but I'm going to explain why this cannot be the case. But lastly, hey, we do not have that restrictive contract in our side. We can always opt out because we're independent. The thing that the side that cannot opt out of the contract, of this binding contract, is your side of the house, and you need to provide it's completely justified. 3 issues. We need to prove only 2 burdens to win the grand final round. Number one, will it provide better job for the workers? Number two, will it continue sustainability for the companies? Number three, just a minor issue about how this provides better service for the customers. Firstly and foremost, will it provide better job for the workers? Yes, it definitely will. Notice that being a rideshare driver is absolutely unique work field because of several reasons that we have proven. One is it highly fluctuative work field, a kind of work field that you don't know if you'll receive $1 million or only a single penny when you go out on a work on a bright Wednesday, right? It all depends on the current circumstances in a particular time and space, the random number of demand for people. Number two, we also prove out to you how promotions and discounts, etc. play a huge role. People don't use Gojek at 5 p.m. on Mondays just because they do, because they know that they provide a 50% discount voucher. This is different from products like pen or shampoo that people relate to. Hell, this is even different from services like attorney service, like messaging service that you relate to. People move from one app to the other for pragmatic reasons. Talking economy, you have sacrificed a huge opportunity cost when you're waiting for 5 hours not having a single customer when you have to spend your fuel for traveling. We do not want to stand for this. What did they say? Oh, but you need job security. Notice that the idea of job security that they want to advocate for has zero importance in the debate. But let's take a look from a completely different perspective. Opposition's idea about job security is not going to be like prop, which is that, oh, commitment to company, a freaking capitalistic and profit-oriented company as the main indicator of you having a safe job. No, we don't say that this is the case, especially since we established an extremely clear picture why it's never ideal to work in a fluctuating work field. But how did Elgar try to escape from this response? He ran away by saying that, oh, throwing a burden to opposition that, oh, you need to provide a reason why this job is safe. Well, that's basically what everything that we're saying, right? Because even if it is not safe, you have another alternative. We know that this work field is extremely fluctuative. You need to get exposed to as many customers as you can. You need to get exposed to as many companies as you can. We want to stand for this. But they say, oh, but you will be left out in the crisis like COVID. This is not more than straw man. Their mechanism is completely unclear. Are they suggesting that companies keep paying for the drivers even if they don't work? Unfortunately, we will never know because they have no speakers left. Hey, look, I know we love to live in a Disney castle of prop world, but I don't think these companies are that good to pay for benefit for employees who stay at home. These payments don't exist even in huge companies like BCA, who refuses to even give health benefit to their high-ranking employees. Toyota even cut out some supervisors simply because they don't want to pay for them. Trust me, I'm feeling really bad for my relatives who work there. Why this is important? Because workers of this company can work even from home. Accountants can take their juniors from their comfy bed. Salesperson can sell that by using their WhatsApp account. This is very different from Gojek drivers who have to physically deliver food, physically transfer people, scream packet on your house at 3 p.m. at every day. That's why even if these functional workers are cut, there's no guarantee that you won't be. Therefore, as much as you want a credit prop, you should not, because this is a highly unrealistic world. But they say, oh, they're vulnerable to exploitation, the idea of being sick, etc. Hey, no, this is a completely difficult, a really difficult claim to prove by proposition. Yes, we know that companies are profit-oriented jerks, but they are rational profit-oriented jerks, right? They don't for extra burden that are impossible to be fulfilled by their workers, obviously. Let's take Natal's characterization about how Gojek and Grab cannot grow until what they are today because of the drivers. Well, this claim bolsters our case, because the claim of power imbalance is not even significant, right? Yes, we know drivers is not Mr. Driver is not as Nadiem Makarim as the CEO, but they do have the leverage. They can opt out of job at any time, and we know that people need to have this right. Comparatively in proposition, you cannot do this because what they fail to realize is they don't simply get the good end in every deal. Yes, you get healthcare, you get social benefit, though I don't know what this is, but at the cost of your leverage. The idea of confronting CEO, confronting manager, this is just a dreaming proposition, because you're going to be bound under restrictive contract to obey your superiors, to follow the rules made without your further consent. We say this is not a worth it trade-off. We don't want to trade off the ability of opt out of a toxic job for benefits that are available and easy to access in other alternative too. Worth, healthcare you can get it in BPJS, right? A social benefit you can get it in, just a social environment. We don't see what is exclusive. How did they try to respond to this? Third prop claimed that, but they do not know how to use WhatsApp and how to use Twitter. Well, I will just leave it right there. It's not even important to respond. But they say, in proposition, you will have labor union. Holy hell, they really spend a whole lot of time trying to establish what is exists in their side, didn't they? Shame, actually, because they can't seem to explain why it is that important that they made this point throughout 22 minutes of this spoke. Well, thanks to the concession that first prop made that we'll still have a community, this point is no longer important. I did destroy their claim saying that they can oppose the manager and something. The sense of community also exists in our side, and it's much better because it's made of actual friendship instead of labor union that binds people under contract. What did they say? But they will get training and development. I generally am confused of why all the mechanism for proposition is delivered by the deputy, but this is a strawman anyway. We even say that there's no interest and it's much better if they get training and development in other alternatives. We say this is not exclusive at all. But they say, but you will have mental instability if you don't have that much purpose. Two responses. Firstly, whoa, let's just chill out with the terms. I don't think we need to go as far as mental disability. My psychology friends will not approve. But secondly, even if we do, notice that this is much worse comparatively in their side. People don't sign as Gojek drivers to be ordered of what they can or cannot do at their time. They choose to work as Gojek drivers because they see a crowd of Gojek drivers vibing in the street, smoking and drinking coffee together. A sense of togetherness was built. They perceive this job as that kind of job, a job that you can enjoy instead of being binded in. But 2 points of weighing. Number one, if the idea that proposition was to promote job security just because they have job security, because they have commitment, well, we do not want to stand for this because they have never been able to tackle our characterization about what this is a very fluctuating work field, and you have no idea of what kind of salary that you're going to have today by working in this field. But number two, look, we know that they're the most vulnerable actor. We want to protect them. But we want to talk pragmatic more than idealistic in this debate, because we see that the problem that's going to happen in proposition will be extremely urgent. It looks like driver being forced to work 9 to 5 instead of being able to spend leisure time by their own, which we think inheres in their condition. How I should weigh this debate is to give the winning to the team that managed to frame it, to protect the vulnerable actors without disadvantaging any other actors. Here's my punchline for this round. I know we're dealing with seniority here, but judges, please don't let seniority dictate this important matchup. I know they won the gold last year, but don't let past history predetermine the results here, right? If you pay close attention to the debate, you'll notice that we have an algorithm that we need to win the grand final. Therefore, we don't see literally any reason at all for you not to give this year's gold to FOE batch of 2020. This is Tentara Merah revenge season, and we managed to prove that we do deserve to win anyway. The only logical conclusive action that you need to do after this to give the second half of this back-to-back FOE Fisip grand final to opposition, since you know that people are also expecting different results. Extremely proud to oppose for the last time.
Okay, so the third speaker from the opposition team have spent 7 minutes and 41 seconds. I repeat, 7 minutes and 41 seconds. Now I would like to call the reply speaker from the opposition team. Time and place is yours.
Wait, am I audible?
Yes.
All right. I'm starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, I think it's very ironic that Proposition 1 security, when under your side, they're literally making these vulnerable people rely on only one sort of job that you still don't know yet whether or not the company that you're signing up for will give you the profit and will be exploitative or not. We say that exploitation can happen under both sides. There's also a concession made by the Prime Minister that Gojek and Grab can also be exploitative. But under your side, it is far worse because you're literally making those people binded by a contractual obligation by that exploitative company, and their only solution to that is labor union. First, I don't understand why labor union is effective, because like their labor union is still shit in many developing countries, and just by the concession that exploitation still exists in the status quo, that means that we don't understand the efficacy of labor union. But second of all, under our side, the reason why it's better is because we give the autonomy back to the individual, because we don't hinge upon the efficacy of labor union. This individual can decide by themselves whether they want to sign up for Grab or Gojek, because now they can work in multiple companies. They're no longer binded by the contractual obligation that they should only sign up for one company. We think that their only response come late in the third speaker, that you can also exit this company. First of all, we tell you that it's not easy because you're binded by contractual obligation. But second, we tell you that once you exit the company, it's become harder when you're employing as employee, because the job opportunity that the companies are going to open will be far little, because you're providing like the benefit. That's why companies are going to limit the employment for the people. So it's very hard for you to, for example, change your job. That's why you're forced to actually opt into that job. But thirdly, we also think that this is a self-defeating argument, because logically, if the worker can also opt out, what's the use of labor union again? That also defeats the entire argument about labor union. We think that by this idea about exploitation alone, which is, by the way, not our idea, but their case, we think that they have lost this debate very, very farly. But let's talk about which job is more secure, because I think that that is the heart of the debate. I want you to drop the entire rhetorical extension from Elgar that talk about like mental state, like bank actually offering loan to the underprivileged people, because this relies on the under-analyzed assumption that working in one company will provide you financial security. We think that this argument is generally true in the context of company, but not in the context of ride-hailing companies, because we tell you that when you work as Gojek, you will not have a fixed 5 freaking million, and you're not going to be paid by that rate every single month just because you work in one company. Your salary is defined by the orders and by the customers' demand on you, by the market demand. We say that under both sides, fixed salary is not going to exist. But under our side, the reason why this argument matters is because we told you there are very many externalities when it comes to ride-hailing companies. Because number one is very dependent on the market demand, because it's demanded by like geographical location. People have different preferences. Like companies might have promotion. We think that it's far easier for us to be more flexible. The reason why this argument is important, because if it is true that the debate talk about vulnerable people, you're making sure that Grab driver who is like making sure that they want to feed 3 of their children stay in a stuck job when they do not get enough salary. Under our side, we give them self-defense mechanism, because if Gojek cannot work out, you don't get any consumer from Gojek, you can shift to Grab application. It's far easier and it's far more flexible. But secondly, we already proved to you why all their healthcare benefit do not actually exclusive, because first of all, if you get profit maximization, which anyway they do not and in any way contest, we think that you can also like hire your private insurance. But we say that you are a worker, you already deserve like protection from the government. Like you already have like BPJS, KIS. This also neutralize the urgency of having an additional worker like healthcare benefit. We don't think that this is exclusive. Why under our side is better? Because when you get more profit maximization by your own consent and by your own choice, you can be more flexible in spending that money by your own preference. And that's a marginal benefit that you do not get from proposition. Listen, educator. For me and myself, from Afel and Justin, and most important for all FH supporters who are literally watching right now, we are winning this debate. And if we are losing, we are robbed. And as law students, we're going to demand aggressively for accountability. We're very proud to oppose.
The reply speaker from the opposition team have spent 4 minutes and 28 seconds. I repeat, 4 minutes and 28 seconds.
Bentar ya, I need to talk to my teammate. Okay. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Judges, let me tell you how you should judge this debate, right? The team who deserve the win is the team who can prove to you two things. Number one, whether drivers deserve the right that they could have gotten. This is important because this house believes that debate is not only talking about comparative cases, but also the reason as to why alternative cases is just and needed, right? And number two, the comparative cases itself, right? Whether it is better off for drivers themselves to be freelancers or permanent drivers, for example. Sure, they can be all sassy and boast about age, for example, but if I can prove to you that Team Fisip fulfills those two parameters, the win falls upon us, right? So discussion number one, whether they deserve those benefits, right? Prime Minister has laid down many layers of reasons why the drivers deserve the benefits. Let me conclude it to you first. Number one, because they have contributed to the growth of the company. Number two, because they are prone to exploitations and possibilities of being easily laid off as consequences of not succumbing to that exploitation. And number three, because they need access to the benefits itself, right? If they are keen on being dismissive to those three reasons, let me tell you that these are likely because drivers are seen as being not a part of and being separated from the companies, right? So the companies can just shy off from fulfilling those responsibilities. Responses from their team and basically the basis of their cases are twofold, right? Number one, because they are consented, and secondly, because they have alternative and this rather gives them options of jobs, right? Number one, they are consented. No, this is untrue, right? We have proven to you why the consent is invalid because the consent falls under a false consciousness, right? Because the thing is, when they first sing to that working partnership, for example, they do not know the exact requirement and the standards being set by the companies. But secondly, they are also under the force of economic necessities, right? So we don't think that the consent being brought by the second speaker is valid. Number two, on the point of flexibility and alternatives, right? We have debunked this idea, this argument in three ways. Number one, no, because the structural incentive of workers would be that they should be subject to all the requirements and bonuses that the company offer. So it's unlikely for them to opt to that alternative to begin with because they have them to just work harder, for example, right? Number two, I think we can all concede that the alternative is only accessible through prerequisite, right? Because it can only happen under specific case and to specific people, right? Who can afford those sacrifices or of having multiple jobs, for example, and so on and so forth. So thirdly, the comparative is this judges, rather than further exploit myself having multiple jobs, for example, to have one job is enough. To have one job that is protecting and is beneficial to me is enough. And your status as employee is already more beneficial than having those multiple jobs that they have as an alternative case, right? Very funny case coming from side opposition. They are so pro to exploitative companies, right? But discussion number two, which one is better for workers, right? First, I need to emphasize that they have mistaken how labor union works, right? I need to tell you that it is an exclusive benefits coming from government that you should count. But number two, under the point of exploitation, right? This is important because both teams concede that exploitation exists. But the important difference is, judges, hear me out here. The exploitation under their case, under their side of the house is worsened off, right? Because freelancers are seen as outside element, and companies can just shy away from their responsibilities as employees. But in our side of the house, if exploitation is controlled better because the companies are being tied to regulations and contracts being brought to them, right? And in our side of the house, they also get the benefits to at least make up for the things that tire them out, right? For example, the protection, the better fixed salary, the health benefits, and those are benefits that is only exclusive under our side of the house when they are being a permanent worker. But thirdly, on the further benefits, right? We have also provided to you bigger benefits under our side of the house, such as easier access to loans, for example, easier access to more jobs, for example, in the future, and better sense of fulfillment, right? I think that under those two discussions, they cannot just say that if the win falls under Fisip, it is a robbery, for example. We are very proud to propose and we deserve the win.
Okay, the reply speaker from the government team have spent 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I repeat, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So this is the end of the debate round. Since this is a silent round, the debaters may return to the main room. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for the debate.
Ya, thank you everyone ya. Sorry. Ya, clarification DWT tadi gue ketawa demi Tuhan Yesus bukan karena speech lo ya, itu karena other externalities. Tapi it was a good, it was good debate, good debate.
Good debate, guys. Thank you.
Ya, Justin, gue laporin lu ke equity.
Hey, what did I do? I didn't do anything.
Bye bye.
Go.
Guys, for the debate.
Wait.
Kok
Ini
nggak
langsung
bisa
live
ke
meeting
Nggak
atau
bisa
live
live
breakout
ke
room?
main room ya? Cuma bisanya langsung ke live meeting.
Live meeting. Bye bye.
Oh, kita live meeting.
Gak tau, I only have one option.
Ya, me too.
Nanti di breakout roomnya ditutup, nanti auto balik ke main room.
Oke.
Oh, berarti tunggu aja ya.
Abis ini tuh ada apa lagi?
Iya, boleh nunggu.
Tes, am I audible? Oh.
Ini kenapa otomatis katanya 1 menit lagi otomatis ke live di breakout room gitu?
Karena ditutup breakout call.
Nah, gimana teman-teman tadi debatnya? Pasti panas banget kan? Nah, sambil nunggu ada pengumuman dari Ekor, kami mengucapkan terima kasih kepada sponsor karena OIM UI 2020 tidak akan dapat berjalan tanpa Jenius, Bogasari, dan Apartemen Taman Melati. Sehabis ini dikembalikan lagi kepada Ekor. Terima kasih.
Test, am I audible? Hello, can anyone confirm if I'm...
Yeah, Cass, you are audible.
Okay, so a few announcements. So the result of the grand finals will be announced during the closing along with the winners of other cabang-cabang lomba. It will be announced along with the top 10 best speakers, and there will be award for the best speaker, but for the top 10 best speakers, there will only be certificates. The third winner of OIM in both Debat Bahasa Indonesia and English debate will be decided through team scores from the semifinal rounds. It will exclude the results of the preliminary rounds, and it's going to be through the average that is decided from the non-dissenting adjudicators. So the results for the champion, the runner-up, and the third winner, along with the top 10 best speakers, will be announced much later. But if the grand finalists want constructive or result, we will gladly give you the contact of your adjudicators after the announcement is already done. I think that marks the end. Panitia and PJ, Alam, or Anita, maybe if you'd like to say something.
Oke. Iya, jadi pengumumannya bakal ada di grand closing ya teman-teman, jadi ditunggu aja. Sekali lagi, kami sebagai panitia terima kasih kepada sponsor karena OIM UI 2020 tidak akan dapat berjalan tanpa Jenius, Bogasari, dan Apartemen Taman Melati. Terima kasih. teman-teman semua udah pada boleh live ya. Selamat malam.
Terima kasih panitia.
Iya.